Oh my goodness, it's another breathtaking episode of How to Market Your Co-working Space a Simple Way.
This podcast is brought to you by cowork.tools. Super simple onboarding for new members to your workplace. Cowork Tools sorts out your GDPR, your AML, and your KYC. There's even a collaborative payment platform. Of course, I know what all of that means. So stop messing around with your onboarding and get back to building your co-working community. Head to cowork.tools to get started. Bye!
And in the Bernie Mitchell studio today, we have Kenda, who is awesome. I don't know. Before we came on, folks, we were talking for probably about an hour about content marketing. So now we got here, and we're not sure which bit to do first. But Kenda, before I fall over myself anymore, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi, Benny. So I'm known for behavioral marketing automation. I run an agency called Automation Ninjas, and we specialize in helping people understand consumer behavior and then automating that. So putting customer journeys together that get people better quality leads in, higher conversion rates, and then happy customers that stick around for longer. All the good stuff. So that's what we're known for. I also wrote a book called Hack the Buyer Brain, which is now an international bestseller. And it's all about how we evolve to survive, not to buy stuff online, and the implications that has for our marketing. So that's predominantly what I'm known for. What I'd like to be known for is just helping people get really clear on how to do the marketing automation bit efficiently. So how to get their customer journeys nailed and how to do it without falling over themselves effectively.
So can you open with a little definition of customer journey, because that's even me at my high level of customer understanding. Like how more importantly, how would that apply to a co-working space? Because I think that's something we know the word and have an idea what it means, but like, what does that mean in the context of a co-working space?
Yeah, for sure. So just looking at the definition of a customer journey, it's basically everything that a consumer has to do, like your prospect or your customer. It's everything that they have to do in order to become a customer and then stay a customer. So it's basically all those little steps, whether it is Googling something, whether it is purchasing, whether it is coming back for more, whether it is going through a cancellation process, that's part of the customer journey as well. It's everything that they have to do in order to become a customer and stay a customer. So all the steps leading up and all the steps afterwards. So, it's a big encompassing thing. So in terms of co-working spaces, what we have to think about in a co-working space is what do your co-workers have to do in order to find out who you are, find out why you're the place to go and work, come and work in that space, stay, and come back repeatedly. That's your customer journey. It's all the steps that lead up to that, and it's all the steps that you then do to actually keep them there. So that's a little definition for you, hopefully with some context.
That's beautiful. And is there, as you, I know you spend all day, every day looking at co-working space websites, but is there anything that like pops up that makes you go, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're not doing this"?
It's always the blogging. It's always the blogging. I like that really gets me.
I'm so glad you said that.
It's always the blogging. It's the content marketing piece that I feel is really missing. There isn't really any marketing automation for most co-working spaces at all anyway, which always makes me sad and go sit in a corner and cry. But definitely even just the getting the people in. And I think the problem with that is co-working space target audiences are so big. Like you're targeting lots of different people across lots of different stuff. Yes, you have some, maker only spaces where you might be targeting a specific niche, but for the most part, co-working audiences are across a load of different niches. So it's really hard to create content for an audience like that. So I think a lot of co-working spaces tend to go, oh, we don't need to focus on that because we'll just focus on getting people coming here and staying. So we'll put some ads up, and you tend to do really traditional stuff. But traditional now in the modern market is online. So we have to be focusing on getting people in the door and then continually bringing that perception back that you are the place to be. And in order to do that, we should be blogging and we should be creating content and putting it out there for people to see. So I think the hard part is definitely the audience part, nailing that audience element. But there's actually a little sneaky thing that you can do as a co-working space. And that is, rather than trying to focus on your specific audience and trying to find a niche and trying to find out the search terms for these different things, think about the fact that most of your audience are probably either business owners or working in a certain type of industry and a certain type of thing, and then leverage your community. Like, talk about the stuff that's really important to them, and then get them to talk about it, get them to tell their stories. Because what you then get is, instead of you as the co-working space having to create all of the content, you might create like a handful of strategic pieces, but you actually get your community to tell the stories instead. And you can get clever with the SEO with that as well. So it's a really nice way to actually bring the community element in and get people wanting to be a part of it, and then sharing their information out, which obviously means you get more eyeballs on your content. It's a little bit viral. It's definitely guerrilla. So it's a really nice strategy, getting your community to create the content for you for your blogging.
So because a lot of spaces I work with, they always want to rank for co-working space London or co-working space Bristol. And they would always, and some of you listening know who you are, they would always pay £500 to an SEO company to do their SEO when there's no content on their website, and they're hoping to rank for, co-working space England or something. And what can you say a bit about the much more intelligent step of like writing some words on your website on a regular basis versus paying an SEO company to, I still don't know what they do for that money.
Well, they're focusing on technical SEO, right? They're putting, meta tags and all sorts of clever bits of code on your site. But what people are really interested in is what other people are saying. So people want to see human information, and Google knows that. So that's where you get content SEO. And that's when you put a blog post up on the site. Google has, they like to refer to them as spiders, which is hella creepy, but it basically has these bots that will crawl your sites and then figure out what the content means. And then all you are doing when you're creating content for your website is Google is going, there are people over here asking the internet questions, and I, as Google, want to provide the correct answer. So Google basically looks at everything on your site and goes, oh, there's this blog post that talks about these things. It matches that question that person is asking, and it provides the right answer. And you want to be number one for that. That's really all SEO is at the end of the day. So when we are writing really great blog posts that answer the questions that people are asking, we are going to naturally use the keywords that person might be asking. And then the two things marry up perfectly. So for instance, maybe you do want to rank for co-working space Bristol. You can pay somebody to make one page have some fancy things on it, or you can talk a lot about the stories about the people who are in your co-working space in Bristol and make sure that you're talking about that keyword repeatedly and post them a lot and get lots of content ranking for co-working space Bristol. Google likes fresh content as well. It likes repeated content. So it likes to have content going up, every week or so. So, stuff that's fresher is always going to get a little bit of a boost from Google. So if you can create more content pieces and you have lots of people talking the stories and you're answering the questions that people are asking, like, where's the best place to work in Bristol? What's the best co-working space in Bristol? That's a better long tail keyword than a shorter one, which is co-working space Bristol. And you're definitely going to get more traffic to that and more airtime from Google because it's a human piece of content.
So if I write 3 blogs a week on my website and I say, here at our co-working space in Bristol, we have lots of fun times and freelancers, and we drink this and make this and stuff like this. A lot of people say that we're the best co-working space in Bristol. Is that how I should approach that content, or is that creepy?
It's kind of creepy, but true. kind of creepy, but true. So basically, I think that the thing to do is to listen to the questions that your audience is asking. if they are researching funky co-working spaces in Bristol, of course, if you're a funky co-working space in Bristol, you want to talk about how funky you are so that you can match the two pieces of content together. If someone is looking for best co-working space in Bristol, you want to write some great information on not only like you being the best, but some of the other best places in Bristol so you can rank for their search terms as well. That's when you start getting sneaky. So there's lots of stuff that you can create where you're utilizing those keywords. You just have to make sure that you're doing it naturally like a human, so that Google knows that you're not trying to game the system, but you're actually creating valuable content.
So it's almost like you have an audience and they ask and then you answer.
Oh,
Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much it. Good on Marcus Sheridan, and they ask, you answer.
Dude.
Yeah.
So the other one, I know we didn't talk about this before we came on, but so I'm going to drop it on you and you can tell me to go away. Like, could you have a lead magnet for a co-working space?
Yes, definitely.
And don't everyone do the same lead magnet? But like how? I mean, I know how we can talk about how you could do that somewhere else, but like, what would that be? Is it like 10 tips for freelancers, or how to park your bike in Bristol, or
how to park your bike in Bristol is a great one, because that's hard. No, I would say that you probably want to have things like 5 ways to be your most productive. That kind of stuff. That's the sort of stuff that you want to look at for lead magnets. What is the thing that your audience really cares about? All a lead magnet is doing, and I'm just going to break down what the definition of a lead magnet is. So a lead magnet is a piece of content that you give to someone in exchange for their email address so that you can communicate with them. So it's basically a way to take a stranger on the internet and into someone who knows, likes, and trusts you. But you're exchanging a valuable piece of information for their email address effectively. So we have to ask ourselves what is valuable to our audience. And when we create something that's valuable, they will want to give you their email address and give you permission to contact them. So I would go a bit deeper on that. And I would go, okay, well, if your target audience is a bunch of freelancers that are doing a certain type of thing, what do they care about? Maybe your freelancer cares about the fact that they need to be productive during the day, they need to get the most out of their time, and they need to do it in a good environment. So talk to them about how they can do that. You know how they can do that. That's why you've created your co-working space. So that's where I'd go. What do they care about? And then put that in a lead magnet.
And what does that lead magnet look like? Is it like a 6-page PDF document going into extreme detail, or is it a checklist?
Oh, Bernie, we love a checklist. We love a checklist. So the most important thing with the lead magnet is that it's really easy to consume. It's highly valuable. It's really easy to consume. It's not going to overwhelm people, and it's going to convey that information really nicely. So if you give people like a really chunky, super in-depth 6-page ebook, or heaven forbid a 60-page ebook, because I've seen those as well, you give them something massive like that, chances are they're going to look at it and they're going to go, nah, I don't have time. And they're not going to look at it. So the great thing about a checklist is it's very action orientated. So we can have people go, okay, I want this. And yes, I want to check off, these are the 10 things that I need to make sure that I'm doing every day to be my most productive. That's something that they're going to use all the time. It's super valuable. It talks directly to the pain and the problem that they have. It gives them a solution and it gets them doing something. That's a really highly valuable like lead magnet, way more than a massive chunky ebook that they're going to fall asleep reading. So I will always advocate something that's super easy to consume over something that's a lot lengthier, unless your audience is somebody who is super detail focused and needs that level of detail. But even so, they'll be everyone loves a checklist,
like an astronaut or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. We were talking about this in the Story Brand gang, and my close friend Donald Miller, we were out playing golf together, and I said, Don, man, what works best, the video lead magnet or the PDF lead magnet? And I thought he was going to say, videos, 90% conversion rate, but both had the same. I can't remember the exact what it was, but they're both the PDF checklist and the video series had the same conversion rate. But the video series was like way more in depth to, film and produce and edit and everything like that. And I was a little bit disappointed because I thought that, the video would just be worth the effort. And it was a nicer thing, but didn't, the nice PDF won over that.
Yeah. We have the same, by the way. So our top performing lead magnet is a checklist. So, the great thing about a checklist is it's really easy to create, as well as being something that's really highly valuable. So, if you're starting out and dipping your toe into the pool of lead magnets, that's a nice place to start.
So can you say a bit, I don't know if you know about this, Kenda, I'm just going to check, so after I've put my email address in the Coworking Space website, and then like what can happen with that? Do I email you once a month? Do I take a holiday? Do I email you every day? Gee, Kenda, how often do I email you and what should I send you?
Okay, don't take a holiday. And I think most businesses are guilty of doing this. They tend to send some stuff and then they never communicate with that person ever again because they didn't buy straight away, so we don't care about them anymore. That's definitely not something that you want to do. Instead, you want to focus on consistently providing value. And, some people do extremely successfully with a daily email. There are people who do very well with that, but your list needs to be prepared for that. So you need to set the expectations really clearly if you're going to do that. That needs to be something that they want. Otherwise, what you want to do is weekly is totally perfect. It's a nice, you're showing up consistently and you need to, be showing up and giving that value add all the time. So if you're writing a blog and you're putting content out there for the rest of the world to see, which you should be doing, definitely, then send that blog out to your list on a weekly basis. And send some really nice value add content out and do that repeatedly, and keep that consistency up because people want to hear from you. That's why they signed up. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed up. So, yeah.
And when people unsubscribe, that's a good thing because it doesn't mean they hate you, and they means that they just don't want to hear from you anymore.
Yes, they've basically self-segmented themselves off of your list, which is fantastic. Because if they hang around and they aren't engaged and they aren't opening emails and they're just being generally sulky about the whole thing, they are going to damage your email deliverability and your email sending reputation, which is the thing that's going to damage your email deliverability. So when they unsubscribe, it's fantastic because they don't want to hear from you and we don't want them to be damaging your list. So don't be sad about unsubscribes. It just means they're not the right person for you. As long as you're not having more unsubscribes than you're having opt-ins, you're totally fine.
So a long time ago, when I used to, maybe more than a decade ago, I used to run networking groups and everything, and I had a business card scanner and everything, and I had like 2,500 people on a MailChimp list.
Wow.
And I was emailing them all the time.
Excellent.
And that was a lot. That was a lot for a little boy. And then I got more, sophisticated in my understanding of communication, shall we say. and then I just, one day I went, I sent an email which was saying, please unsubscribe, and it had a list. Please unsubscribe if you open this and you don't really know who I am. Please unsubscribe if you've got no interest in this is what we're doing. And there were 10 reasons to unsubscribe. And one of those was unsubscribe if we're connected on social media and that's where we do most of our communication. And something like 1,200 people unsubscribed.
Oh, wow.
And I nearly had a heart failure. and there were people, and I emailed a few people, I tweeted a few people saying, I can't believe you unsubscribed. And they're like, well, that's what you asked me to do. And it's only 5 people, but I had 5 people email me back and say, I wish I had the guts to do this. Or I know I email a lot of people who open my thing and are more annoyed that they open it and don't unsubscribe. And I just thought, how many people are on lists and just don't have, we don't email them. We get upset if they unsubscribe, but then we'll say they don't unsubscribe because they don't want to upset us. There's this like crazy dynamic.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like I am the best person in the world to learn about marketing from, but Kenda runs a site that's quite good called Marketing Automation Ninjas. And in no way is this a sponsored podcast, but if you want to know more about how to not fuck up your customer journey, you should run over there. What would people find in there, Kenda?
So we have a great blog because we eat our own dog food. So we have a great blog on there that will talk on various different levels about this kind of stuff. So if you're interested in doing that, definitely check out the blog. There is a link to the book on there. We have our consultancy services. And of course, we have the Marketing Automation Academy now. So you'll find out a little bit more about that on the site as well.
That is good. And there's a lot of other a lot of our friends are on this thing, and we've all been on this, like, a few years now, isn't it? This like kind of 90-day challenge. They ask you answer big five, learn how to speak without dribbling, kind of thing. So, just everyone that's on this podcast, folks, get involved. Go to their websites. There's always extensive show notes about everything we mentioned in here, and we will see you in the next episode. Say goodbye, Kenda.
Bye now.
Thank you very much for your time today. As a co-working space owner or manager, you may never know where to start with your marketing, even if you know exactly what needs to be done. Are you always stopping and starting communication for your co-working space? Get distracted by shiny things and new fads? Do you blog once a year and not even know why you're blogging? If you're like me, you've read hundreds of books on business and marketing, but still get stuck in action. How often have you done the same thing 12 weeks in a row? Head to berniejmitchell.com and hit the green book a call button to spend a few hours with me to nail a simple 90-day marketing plan you will actually execute on. We'll work out a 12-week plan of content, emails, and other actions to build your sales funnel. I'm 100% confident I can help you. So confident, in fact, I'll give you your money back right on the spot at the end of our call if you don't find our time together useful. In the last decade, I've helped hundreds of people get clear on where to go next, what tools to use, and how to stay consistent with their marketing. Head to berniejmitchell.com and book a call today.